All right, let's jump right in, shall we? We've got these excerpts you sent in, and they're from Allan Kardec's What is Spiritism?
Yeah, it's a classic.
It is, and we're focusing in on chapter 1,
Right.
which is this really interesting dialogue with a priest about Spiritism and how it relates to, well, organized religion.
It's a big one.
It's a big one. And just as a quick reminder for anyone tuning in for the first time, when we say Allan Kardec, we're talking about he's considered the person who really codified Spiritism.
Yeah.
So Spiritism, it's that philosophical and religious doctrine that says, hey, spirits of the dead, they can talk to us, the living.
Exactly.
And in this dialogue, it's like Kardec's giving us this surprisingly nuanced view of how those two worlds, Spiritism and faith, how they connect.
And I think what's surprising is how Kardec isn't saying Spiritism should replace religion, the existing religions.
Right.
It's more about he dives right into one of the biggest criticisms of Spiritism, that it attacks faith. And
Head on.
Yeah, head on.
Yeah.
And he's basically saying that Spiritism is actually trying to combat the opposite, the disbelief.
Mm-hmm.
He was writing at a time when materialism was gaining a lot of traction, and he saw this disbelief, growing disbelief in anything spiritual as being really detrimental to morality.
I mean, doesn't he, he makes this point, I don't remember the exact wording, but it's almost like an analogy. He says, whether you believe the sun revolves around the earth or not, it doesn't change the fact that Earth is orbiting the sun.
Exactly.
So to me, it almost implied that this communication with spirits, well, it's just a natural phenomenon. It's happening whether we believe it or not.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what Kardec's getting at. He's saying, look, evidence and experience, those are the foundation of Spiritism.
Not just blind faith.
Not just blind faith, right. He's not saying, just trust me on this, spirits exist. He's saying, explore the evidence, look at the experiences, and then come to your own conclusions.
Pretty bold for the time, especially with all the pushback Spiritists were getting, from the church.
Oh, absolutely. And the priest in the dialogue actually brings this up. He's like, hey, the church isn't exactly thrilled about this whole Spiritism thing.
Yeah, they're actively opposed.
Yeah.
And Kardec doesn't just ignore that criticism. He actually talks about how brutally some Spiritists were treated.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes this argument that trying to suppress Spiritism, well, it kind of backfired.
Right. It's like trying to put out a fire with, a blanket. It just
spreads.
Yeah.
So he's suggesting that the church's opposition actually made Spiritism stronger.
He's definitely implying that. It's like the more they tried to shut it down, the more people clung to it. And it raises a question, does forcefully trying to get rid of a belief ever really work? Or does it just push people together, make them even more convinced?
You see that in other movements too, social movements, religious movements, throughout history, right? And then we get this other voice in the dialogue, and it's a free thinker who's all about materialism. He's like, nope, there's no soul, no afterlife, no need for any of this religion stuff.
It's almost like Kardec knew this counter-argument was coming, and he was ready for it. He basically says, look, materialism might sound all logical and stuff, but it can actually make society, morally fall apart.
It's like, if there's nothing beyond this life, why bother being good?
Right. Why not just look out for yourself, right?
Yeah.
He's saying that believing in an afterlife, knowing there's some accountability for your actions, that's what keeps people ethical. That's what keeps society functioning. And then just when you think it's going to be this showdown between Spiritism and materialism, Kardec switches gears again.
Yeah, it's a twist.
Totally. He starts talking about how Spiritism, even though it's different from organized religion, still lines up with the basic ideas in most faiths.
Yeah, like God, the soul, heaven and hell, and that whole golden rule thing, do unto others.
Right. He's pointing out the common ground. Hey, we might have some differences, but we're all on the same page about these big ideas.
So strategic.
Totally. But then, and this is where it gets wild, he says, Spiritism isn't a religion at all. It's a science.
Whoa.
Yeah, he compares it to when people figured out electricity, something that seemed mysterious before, but then science came along and explained it.
Mm-hmm.
So Spiritism, it's shining a light on how the spirit world works. We just got to observe and analyze it.
It's science, but for the invisible world.
Exactly. And then the priest asks this really interesting question. He says, what would the spirit say if someone was trying to pick a religion?
Oh, wow. That's a good one.
It is. It's you can feel the tension there, between the priest's worldview and this whole spiritist thing.
Right. And Kardec's answer?
Well, he basically says, don't just blindly trust any spirit that comes along, especially the lower level ones.
Oh, right, because there's a hierarchy, right. Not all spirits are equal.
Exactly. Some are wiser, more evolved. Kardec saying, you got to be careful who you're getting your advice from. The higher level spirits, the ones who've been around the block a few times, they're the ones you want to listen to.
It's like Spiritism's not about finding a set of answers. It's about learning to ask the right questions.
It's about discernment, about thinking critically.
And it kind of makes you wonder, maybe the whole point of Spiritism is to learn how to navigate that spiritual world. You know, to figure out what's real guidance and what's just noise.
That's a really interesting thought. Like, it's giving us the tools to figure things out for ourselves. And that brings us to another big theme in this dialogue, the whole idea of salvation.
Right, like the priest is worried that if you don't follow Spiritism, you're doomed.
Exactly. And Kardec's answer, surprisingly reassuring.
Is it?
It is. He's saying, look, God judges us on our hearts, on our actions, not on whether we check all the right boxes in some doctrine.
It's not about the label.
Exactly. He's saying, like, you can be a good person, a sincere believer in any religion, and still find salvation. What matters is that you live a virtuous life. It's about the heart.
I mean, that's a pretty tolerant view, especially for that time. And even today, it's kind of refreshing, you know? People are tired of dogma. They want something real, something they can connect with.
You're right. Of course, the priest, he's got to bring up the doctrinal differences.
Yeah, there's always got to be a but.
Always.
Yeah.
So he brings up reincarnation, eternal punishment, demons, all the controversial stuff.
The hot topics.
Yeah.
And how does Kardec handle that?
He's cool as a cucumber. He doesn't shy away from the differences, but he frames them as open questions. And then she throws in this awesome analogy about geology.
Oh, yeah. The one about what happens if we find proof that humans existed before Adam? Mind blown.
Right. He's basically saying even our religious beliefs have to adapt to new evidence. We can't just cling to old dogma. We got to be open to learning and growing.
And that's a powerful message for any time period, right? This whole dialogue, it's like it speaks to this constant struggle between faith and reason, between tradition and progress.
It does, and it leaves us with a lot to think about. Like, if Kardec's right and communicating with spirits is just a normal part of life, how does that change how we see everything? Religion, morality, even what's real and what's not. We've just dipped our toes in here.
Deep waters.
Deep waters indeed. But let's take a pause for now and unpack some of these big ideas a bit more.
So we've talked about how Kardec sees Spiritism as this kind of bridge between faith and reason. But he also seems to be, like, questioning some big religious ideas. Eternal punishment, for example. Doesn't that clash with his whole thing about aligning with the core of most faiths?
It's a great point. And it really gets to how Kardec kind of reinterprets those religious concepts. Like, the priest is worried that if you don't follow Spiritism, boom, you're going to suffer forever in the afterlife. But Kardec's response, it's pretty fascinating. He basically suggests that eternal punishment, the traditional idea of it, well, the evidence he's seen from the spirit world, it doesn't really back that up.
So he's not saying there are no consequences for bad actions.
No, not at all. He's just saying this whole fire and brimstone forever thing, that doesn't seem to be how it works. That vengeful God idea, it doesn't fit with the compassionate view Spiritism offers.
Okay, so what does he propose instead?
Well, according to Kardec, how long someone's punished, it's not set in stone by God. It's determined by the individual themselves. Like how much they repent, how much they change for the better.
So it's not a fixed sentence. It's more like a process, like a spiritual rehab kind of thing.
Exactly. It's all about growth, purification, and it happens over time.
It's a much less, well, scary idea of the afterlife.
Right. It's hopeful. And this reframing of eternal punishment, it really shows how Kardec sees the spirit world. It's not this static place of reward or punishment. It's dynamic. It's about continuous learning, development.
It's kind of like karma and rebirth in Buddhism. You know, your actions have consequences that ripple out over lifetimes.
Great connection. And Kardec talks about reincarnation directly in this chapter too. The priest brings up metempsychosis, you know, the soul hopping into different animals. But Kardec's making a distinction.
Oh, right. So he's not saying we come back as squirrels or something.
No, for him, reincarnation is about the soul evolving through multiple human lives. Each one is a chance to learn, to grow, to become more spiritually aware.
So you don't get punished by being reborn as a slug?
Nope. It's more like you get multiple shots at getting it right.
Takes the pressure off a bit.
Definitely. And this ties back into that whole spiritual progress thing we talked about. Like, this one life, it's not our only chance.
But if Spiritism offers this whole new way of seeing the afterlife and why we're even here, what role does regular religion still play? That's something I'm still wrapping my head around.
That's a question that runs through this whole dialogue. The priest even asks it, like, if people can be saved through their own religions, why bother with Spiritism?
And Kardec's answer, it's not a simple one.
It's subtle. He doesn't say, ditch your religion and join Spiritism. It's more like, Spiritism gives you proof, evidence of the spiritual stuff, and that can strengthen your existing faith. It's like an antidote to materialism.
So not a replacement, but a companion.
Yeah. He even compares it to scientific discoveries, like finding new planets or like looking through a microscope for the first time. These things didn't make old knowledge wrong. They just added to it, expanded our understanding.
He's saying Spiritism can do that for the spiritual realm without contradicting what traditional religions teach.
Exactly. It's like science and religion, they both have their place, and Spiritism helps them work together.
It's all about bridging those gaps.
Exactly. And finding the common ground, what unites us, not what divides us.
And that's where his emphasis on charity fits in.
Absolutely. He's always saying, without charity, no salvation.
He means more than just giving money to charity, right?
Definitely. It's love, compassion, kindness, forgiveness. All those things that connect us help us rise above our differences. For Kardec, that's what truly matters.
Oh, it kind of lines up with what a lot of religions say, love thy neighbor and all that.
Right. In the end, it's not about arguing over details. It's about how we treat each other. It's about living those values, especially today when everything feels so divided. And that's the power of what Kardec was saying, right? Even back then, he was tapping into something timeless.
It's amazing how he brings all these pieces together, like science and religion, individual choice, and this idea that we're all connected spiritually. It really makes you think outside the box. It challenges you to look at these big questions with a fresh perspective.
It does, and I think that's what makes this dialogue so powerful, even today. Kardec's not afraid to challenge those traditional beliefs, but he does it with respect. He's not trying to destroy anything. He's trying to build bridges to help us understand more.
Yeah, and he sees Spiritism as this evolving thing, this way of seeing the spiritual side of life. It's not about having all the answers set in stone, right? It's about constantly asking questions, being open to new ideas, new evidence.
That's so important, especially now. I mean, think about it. We're bombarded with information all the time. Learning to think for yourself, to figure out what's true and what's not, that's crucial.
And maybe Kardec was already picking up on that shift, even back then. People are less likely to just accept what they're told these days. They want to experience things for themselves, find their own truth.
Absolutely. And that's where Kardec's emphasis on evidence and personal experience really resonates. He's not saying, just believe me. He's saying, go out there, look at the evidence, have your own experiences, and then decide for yourself.
It's almost like he saw Spiritism as this missing piece of the puzzle, connecting the scientific world with the spiritual world. He even says that to understand the material world, you got to understand the spirit world too. Like, they're not separate, but two sides of the same coin.
That's a huge idea, and it challenges that old way of thinking that keeps spirit and matter completely separate. Kardec's saying we can't truly understand ourselves or the world if we ignore that spiritual dimension.
Like science and religion, they're both trying to explain the same reality, just from different angles.
Yeah.
And Spiritism helps us see the whole picture, the connections between them.
Exactly. It's about moving past those rigid categories, those either or kind of thinking. It's about embracing complexity, nuance.
It's so relevant today, in a world that feels so black and white, so divided. And it all comes back to that idea of charity, doesn't it?
It does. Kardec's clear about that.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just understand Spiritism intellectually. It's got to be lived. Love, compassion, caring for others, that's what really matters.
And that's where he finds common ground with so many religions, right? That golden rule, treating others how you want to be treated, acting with kindness and forgiveness, it goes beyond any one belief system.
Absolutely. Those are universal values. And Kardec's saying they're not just nice ideas, they're the key to building a better world, a more evolved society. By developing those qualities in ourselves, we're not just helping ourselves, we're lifting everyone up.
This whole dialogue, it's been such a journey exploring these big questions: faith, reason, science, spirituality, our own choices, and how we're all connected. So where do we go from here? What's the big takeaway?
I think the biggest takeaway is it's okay not to have all the answers. Kardec himself encourages us to keep asking questions, to challenge what we think we know, to be open to new ideas and evidence.
It's about approaching these big mysteries with a sense of wonder and humility, knowing that we're always learning and growing.
And that the journey itself is the reward. It's not about reaching some final destination of spiritual certainty, but about embracing that process of growth, learning, and transformation. And that process, as Kardec tells us, it's all about love, compassion, and a deep commitment to the well-being of all beings.
So we started with this deep dive into Kardec's conversation with a priest, and it's opened up all these other avenues of exploration: the nature of faith, how science and spirituality intertwine, and ultimately, how to live a life filled with love and compassion. It's definitely given us a lot to ponder.
It really has. And if you're fascinated by these ideas, like we are, I can't recommend exploring Kardec's works enough. There's so much richness there, so much to discover.
We've just scratched the surface. And like Kardec suggests, the real adventure begins when we start asking our own questions, seeking our own answers. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and may your exploration continue.